Hello everybody. I hope this video is finding you well wherever you are. And today is a Monday in London in the year 2021. We are in the midst of a long pandemic which had begun in 2020. And this pandemic has presented itself as a bittersweet context for the world. It has allowed each of us to individually and as a collective reflect on the directions where we are heading in our lives, in the systems of society, and the choices that we have made as a default all these years. Now I have been going through my own reflection, and I have discovered the joy of poetry in this period. And one of the reasons I came across this was through the poetry of Mr. David Whyte, whose book, The Essentials, is something I have recently received, purchased, and have found it to be really remarkable for where I find myself in the transition from one phase of life to the second phase of life, beginning a new decade, and moving into a personal evolution, which brings me to this place of either continuing to do something that I'm capable of doing and valued for, or to take a turn, to take the road not taken while being in the midst of a pandemic. So with that as the context, I would like to read to you a poem by David Whyte called Start, Close, In. And as a prelude to the poem, David writes about a few lines from Dante, the Italian writer from, I believe, the 16th century, who wrote Divina Commedia, the Divine Comedy. And the lines read, and please bear with my Italian accent impersonation. I've been to Italy once, so it may not be appropriate, but I will give it a try. Nel mezzo del cammin di nostra vita. Nel mezzo del cammin di nostra vita. In the middle of the road of our life. In the middle of the road of our life. Mi ritrove per un selva oscura. I awoke in the dark wood. I awoke in the dark wood in the middle of the road of my life. I woke in the dark in the middle of the dream last night. Che la diritta via era smarrita, where the true way was wholly lost. I woke amidst the night in the dreams, where the way was lost, where I wasn't sure who I was, where something new could emerge. These lines, they remind me of The Middle Way by the Buddha, where he talks about not moving into either excessive desiring and becoming and holding on to the things, which leads to an eternalist view of the world, and not moving into ascetic, letting go completely of everything, which then moves into a nihilistic view of the world. In one believes in fate and destiny, and the other one believes everything is meaningless. The scientific worldview often steers towards the nihilism, and the religious worldview often steers towards eternalism. The nihilists believe the world is meaningless, so you can do what you want. The eternalists often can believe that they will come back again, or there will be a heaven, or there will be a rebirth. So the key being that between knowing everything and being 100% sure and seeing everything as purely random and hence unpredictable chaos, we can find the complexity of the middle way, where we have the ability to steer in certain ways while accepting the randomness of the other ways. The metaphor that I find most helpful for this is the metaphor of surfing waves, because if it is pure ground, it's a lot more certain. One can take a straight road to get to where one wants to. If it's pure clouds and space, we can't get anywhere because it's all random and fluffy. So the key is to find the liquid state of affairs where one can get a sense for the waves and then steer onto the waves. This is extremely helpful when we are trying to reorient ourselves in a world that has had some really deep fundamental assumptions shifted. And that has happened due to COVID. That might also happen due to one's personal stage of life, where one might move from accomplishing a particular goal that one had for years. And once that has been accomplished, an empty space can open up, a creativity can come in, there can be a loosening of that gripping on the goal, which is in a way the sense of eternalism. We're really tightly holding on to that goal. On the other hand, if one tries to get a goal and it doesn't satisfy one, or one is unable to reach it, then there can be sometimes a complete letting go, which can then take people into the sense of either hedonism or completely not getting back into the game altogether. So we have to find that middle way. And the other metaphor that I wanted to share is the metaphor of bardo. Bardo is a Tibetan word which means in between. And often it's relevant in terms of dream yoga, where we are moving from one state of consciousness into the other. And so it's a very, very fertile, very liminal space where a lot of creativity and a lot of imagination can come in and new insights can emerge. So with those two metaphors in the background, let's have a final reread of this particular prelude, where Dante is talking about a big transition in his life, where he has had to leave his city and he has to start from scratch. So in a way, he's feeling lost, but at the same time, there's an opportunity and opening. And so Dante begins: Nel mezzo del cammin di nostra vita, mi ritrovai per una selva oscura, che la diritta via era smarrita. In the middle of the road of our life, in the middle of the road of our life, I awoke in a dark wood. In the middle of the road of my life, I awoke in darkness. In the middle of the night, I awoke in darkness, where the whole way was truly lost. And yet, there was the morning light. And yet there was the morning light, which gave me the sign of a new beginning. And yet there was the morning light that gave me the sign of a new beginning, a new possibility, the middle way of choosing from the new empty space and creating what I had always desired. Thank you. Wherever this finds you, I hope you make the right choices and that you are able to steer in the middle way skillfully.